Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk about plot bunnies, specifically my plot bunnies, as I'm editing Valor, and what I do with them when they crop up. So, if you don't know anything about my work in progress, its title is Valor, and I will leave my work in progress tag down below because that's honestly where I send everybody to learn a little bit more about my novel. The short of it is, it's a travel story with around 6 main characters as they go on a journey to complete a mission for the king, and chaos ensues. It's a medieval Scandinavian story, so they are Vikings, and there's tons of blood and guts and gore and family feuds, and that's my work in progress. I'm in the editing phase of Valor, and there has been this idea that has been dancing around my head that is not Valor, so I can't work on it right now, but I desperately want to. So I wanted to just tell you guys what I do when those ideas pop up, those ideas that want to make you stray away from your work in progress, which we call plot bunnies. When my plot bunny personally came up, it was this idea that also stems from medieval history, and it's just about families ruling through social influence instead of political influence. And it's just been kind of dancing around my head, and it made me think of like the mob and the mafia and how they control things in this kind of family community, but they have so much influence over the wider community outside of just their own family. So that's kind of what sparked this story, and then I started thinking about monsters more and cults and religions, especially because Valor is so heavily influenced by Norse mythology. I've been spending a lot of time with mythologies, and suddenly I had this brand new shiny sparkly story idea that I wanted to work on more than I wanted to work on the novel that I'm editing. I'm going to share with you a couple of tips that I personally use when I have these brand new sparkly shiny story ideas that are trying to distract me from my ultimate goal of editing Valor. The first thing I do, no matter what, is write it all down. I say this a million times in my videos, but keep a journal with you. Write all of your story ideas down, whatever it is, however small it is, write it down. What I do personally is then I take a colored pen or a marker and I just color the little corner of the page, so then I can look and flip through my notebook and see where that idea is and color coordinate those ideas. So all of the pink tags go with, you know, my mob story, and all of the orange tags go with Valor, things like that. So I write it all down, no matter how small or big it is. Keep it down in your notebook because you are having these ideas and you have writer's brain. You're a little fried, you're a little tired, and you can't necessarily be trusted to make the best judgments. I know while I'm reading Valor, there are some lines that I come across that are just horrific. They are some of the worst writing that I have ever seen, and it came out of my own mind, and I have to think it must have been like 2 a.m. Right? I don't know when this idea came to me. It's horrid. It has to leave. But you can't tell as the writer whether those ideas are good or not until you take some time, you come back from your writerly craziness and are able to think rationally again. Because I know personally, while I was drafting Valor, and even now while I'm editing Valor, if I'm in an editing zone, I am not a rational person. You do not want to start an argument with me. You don't want to ask me to do something that needs to get done in a specific way, like filling out any type of form or anything. My brain can't do that when I'm editing. I don't have the capabilities of doing that. Write everything down because you won't be able to tell until later whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. While I'm kind of marinating on these ideas as well, I generally like to use them for free writes. Now, I like to free write not every day, but a couple of days a week to just get my mind working again, get those creative juices flowing, which I think is one of the worst phrases in the world. I hate saying it. It makes me cringe internally and externally, but you know what I'm saying, to just get back into the groove of things, especially while I'm editing and I'm not getting to write all of the time. I like to do a free write and just kind of spend some time in my journal exploring an idea. That's the perfect time to break out that plot bunny. So that's when I break out my mob story and I write a little bit about that scene that's kind of been in my dreams, in my head recently. I'll put that on paper, and it helps me feel less anxious and less tempted to go towards that story other than Valor, because I know that I will have time to write with that story, just not all the time. My main focus is Valor, but I give myself that time to explore within that story, because I think the nature of plot bunnies for me personally is this is a story idea that does not have an outline. I have not started officially working on it yet, which is what's allowing me to kind of explore through journaling, just writing down random ideas, doing free writes. Once I have it plotted out, then that's an official story idea, and I would not personally want to do free writes with it because I like to write from beginning to end. So just a disclaimer, my plot bunnies are not things that I have plotted out. They are not things that have an official story arc or even really official characters. They're just kind of things that I'm noodling with, playing around with. I also like to reward myself when I do work in Valor with time to plot out those ideas. So if I finish a chapter or I do my hours of editing for that day, then I let myself go into this story that I shouldn't necessarily be focusing on and noodle around a little bit. Some of my favorite things to do with a story are Google names. So I know, you know, I'm inspired by medieval history and mythology, and so I look up baby names and different things like that. I'll write them all down on a page together. I like to keep a little spread of things like that. I also write down family relationships that I want to have. So like I said, this is kind of inspired by the mob and mafia. That's why I call it my mob story. So that's all about kind of family interconnected relationships. And my family recently this Christmas took a 15-day cruise to Hawaii, which was great, but we were all together the whole time. All 12 of us, my mom and her siblings and all of my cousins, we all went together. And this also kind of inspired this little story idea. The dynamics of a family that is so close like that was something really interesting to me. So when I did give myself time as a reward to go into this story, I wrote down those family relationships that I wanted to see. I wrote down different scenes that I had in mind that I thought would be really interesting. I wrote down different setting ideas, things like that. That's all stuff that I let myself do as a reward for actually sitting down and doing the work that I have to do. And then my final tip, the one that I stick to 100%, I cannot stray from this, is time everything you're doing with it. I do not give myself endless amounts of time to free write with my plot bunny. I get 15 minutes or 20 minutes. I don't get to plot all day. I have to sit down and do it in my 20-minute period. And after those 20 minutes are up, then my time is up. I don't get to work on it anymore. And I know that kind of seems harsh, but it keeps you on track. It keeps you from straying too far into YouTube holes and internet holes. We all know what that's like when you've gone on 17 different baby naming sites and wasted 2 hours and you only have a list of 10 names. That is not the most productive way to use your time, especially if you're a writer like me who is trying to edit a work that is large and giving you a little bit of trouble, because I'm not gonna lie, Valor is not an easy project to do. So timing is everything. I always set a timer and I don't let myself go above it, because once you let yourself go past your timer, you say just 5 more minutes, then the timer doesn't mean anything anymore. It holds no authority over you. Always stick to your timer, because guess what? If you have some other ideas and you didn't get to write them in your allotted time, jot them down quick, jot them down in a journal or on a sticky note, whatever you're using, stick them down, close the journal, and you can come back to it the next day. There's always more time, but when your timer stops, that's when you stop for that day or whatever it is. So those are some tips and tricks that I use when I'm dealing with my plot bunnies, especially my current plot bunny. And I definitely think you'll probably be hearing more about this story, especially as I try to move more towards different ways of plotting and figuring out how to work with the sequel for Valor. I definitely think I want to test out a couple of different methods of plotting, and I'll probably test them out on different stories so I don't get bored, and figure out which way works best for me and then copy that with my other story ideas, if that makes any sense. I'll probably be doing videos on those later, not for a couple of months, because Valor is my sole priority right now, but there is a sequel to Valor up here, and there will be a sequel written, hopefully. So that's something that you'll see from me later, is plotting that out. This mob story I want to plot out. Even if I don't write it right away, I would like to have an outline for it, just for a place for all of my story ideas to live, and I can go back to it and know what the story is. It's not just a whole bunch of random notes written down. So please comment down below what you do when you have a plot bunny, when you have that idea that you just can't shake, but it's not part of your work in progress. I would love to hear your tips and tricks, especially because I'm struggling with my own plot bunnies right now, as this video has shown you. So please subscribe if you want to see more writing videos from me. I make videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and generally I have at least one editing vlog a week where you can see what I do during the day to work on my work in progress. That's all for this video, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!